So I got into self-development 5 years ago. I wouldn't have even known what self-development is really. Like, it just didn't come into my realm of thought. Like, I just didn't know you could work on your mindset. It's completely changed my life. You have to go get it. Whatever you want, it's up to you. Whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You can have it, but it dawned on me, you have to go get it.
This is the Future Fitness Lifestyle, the podcast for high achievers who want to take control of their long-term physical and mental well-being. I'm Matt Cooney, and every week we break down the habits, mindset and strategies to build lasting health, energy and strength without sacrificing your career, family or lifestyle. No quick fixes, no fads, just real sustainable results. Because the choices you make today determine the future you step into. Ready to level up? Let's dive in. Anna O'Connor, welcome to the Future Fitness Lifestyle podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today.
I'm super excited to have you here, and obviously I'm just as excited for our event that is happening on the 26th of April in the Abbey Court Hotel in Nina.
Yeah,
I presume
so excited.
You can't wait for it as well?
I can't wait. No, I actually love things like this. And when you came to me, I was like, this is perfect. Because for some reason, I don't like doing them on my own. I love doing them in a group or with other people. Like, that's where the energy kind of comes from, I think, you know. And even with this event, I'm looking forward to it myself because of the speakers that are going to be there. And I'm going to get something out of it. So yeah, really, really looking forward.
Yeah. And I always forget this. I'm like, okay, if you listen to this past the 26th of April, it means that the event has already happened. I'm going to manifest that. It was unbelievable. And there's a next event bigger and better to come.
Yeah. But we're doubling up the size of it. This is a way of manifesting this now. So if you're listening after 26th of April, you actually couldn't get in the door. It was so busy. So we're having one double the size now, and it's a sellout actually already. So there's no tickets available.
See, I'm learning that from you, this manifesting.
Just pretend like it's already happened.
Yeah. And if it is, you're listening prior to 26th of April, right now there is still tickets. There might be by the time you listen to it, but there will be. I'll leave a link in the show notes here. Again, contact myself or Anna on Instagram. And yeah, we'd love to have you there.
Love to see you. Yeah, figure it.
And I said I'd plug the event before we start because I always forget to do things like that. It'd be like this evening, and I'm like, I never said anything about the event that
we just had a chat. So we're having an event, and tickets are available. It's a wellness event, and we're just going to. Basically, we're doing talks. We have Geraldine Jones. We have Matt Cooney, obviously. We have what's Jer's second name that's doing the talk? Jer Kendi?
Dave Kendi.
Dave Kendi. Sorry, Dave. Dave Kendi. I'm only after starting to follow him. To be fair, he's more, I feel, the male audience. So he's brilliant, though. He's absolutely brilliant. He's doing a talk as well. We've got yoga with Joe. It's going to be a great day.
Yeah. And I'm excited for it now. But what I want to talk to you today about is more about you.
Great. So I love that.
Would it be safe to say that your life has changed a lot in the last 5 years?
Yes, it would definitely be safe to say that. So I got into self-development 5 years ago. I wouldn't have even known what self-development is. Like, you've been into it a long time. It probably goes along hand in hand with your business and everything. But it's something, honestly, and this is probably why I got so into it then, and I have a podcast about it, because I didn't know it existed until I was like 35. Like, that's kind of crazy, really. Like, it just didn't come into my realm of thought. Like, I just didn't know you could work on your mindset. I didn't know. And we think now, Matt, because we're in it, that everyone knows it. They don't. Loads of people do not know anything about it. And when my mind or my eyes were opened and I did get into self-development and the law of attraction and manifestation or whatever, it doesn't kind of matter what you call it. It's basically, I call it self-development more so now because, you know, lots of people have different ways of looking at it and mindset coaching and different, but it all works and it's all the same, whether it's spiritual or not. It's kind of the same thing. And yeah, I only got into it 5 years ago and I absolutely love it now. It's completely changed my life. Completely changed my life.
Yeah. And I definitely want to delve into that. But what I want to know first is, even for some of the listeners, what was life like for you prior to 2020? So if you want to give us a bit of a background, because I know you were definitely busy up until then as well.
I was so busy. I remember messaging you one time. You probably don't even remember, Matt. And I was like, is it because you did a video on sleep. and how important it was. And I was like, but you see, so I was a singer in a band and I worked in dental surgery as well. And I should have probably just given up the dental surgery and just been a singer, but I wasn't brave enough to be just self employed. So I was doing both, absolutely wrecked then, traveling around the country 5 days a week and then working 3 days a week in the dental surgery. So I used to come home from the dentist at 5, get into bed for 3 hours, then get up, go to my gig, come home 4 in the morning, go back to bed for 3, 4 hours. I remember messaging you, wanting you to tell me that that was okay. I was like, I do get 7 hours, but they're separate. And you were like, no, sorry, like you just wouldn't give me the answer I wanted. So I was very busy. Now I'm not going to paint my life in a really negative way either. I was very lucky. I was blessed to be busy. I was a single mother for Danny now is 22. I was a single mother for most of his life. I lived in an apartment in Portrush with Danny beside my parents. Like we had lovely times, but I did feel, I suppose, I was just so busy running around like a blue arse fly and not into self development, not even into exercise really or anything like that. And I just felt though I couldn't actually stop. So when I had a day off, I remember ringing the guy that used to run the band I was in. We had a Saturday night off. Everyone else in the band was delighted. We'd never get, and I was like not happy. And he rang me and he's like, Anna, it's not the money, like, is it? It wasn't the money. It was I couldn't even sit with myself just on my own. I was lonely, do you know? And I wanted a partner, and then I had this thing in my head. I'd say, if I meet a partner, that will sort all this loneliness out, or that'll so. And I realized whatever I was listening to, I think I was reading that. I think I got into the whole thing. I was reading a Jerry Hussey book, and I watched The Secret and a few different things, and it dawned on me then. No, no, no. You have to save yourself. It's not like if you want it. I wanted a home. I wanted a partner. I wanted, a business. But I was waiting for something to come along instead of me going. You have to go get it. Whatever you want, it's up to you. Whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You can have it. But it dawned on me. You have to go get it. You have to. And even I remember I was looking for a partner. In my head, I was swiping away on Tinder or whatever, and I realized no, I was actually looking for a partner and I wanted this partner who was up here. Whereas I wasn't up here. So I wasn't exercising. I didn't have my own business. I wasn't into self development. I wasn't doing any of that. But if you looked at my list for the partner I wanted to meet, he was successful. He worked out, all of these things. And my advice to someone, if you are single and you're listening to this, write out your perfect partner and then go become that. And I'm not saying that so you will actually attract them when you do, but it won't matter as much. A lot of it is because they're the things you want to do, and you don't need a partner for those things. You can become that yourself. And a lot of the time, and you're definitely not going to, like, I was sitting in a car at lunchtime smoking a vape up till all hours, and you're not going to meet some successful fit guy if you're not doing those things anyway. So it's much better to bring yourself to that situation, and then you will possibly, you will then attract that person more so, and you meet other people like that, and it won't be as big a deal then because you'll be there yourself. But yeah, looking for a partner, but I wasn't ready either, that kind of way for the partner that I wanted. So yeah, it was like a busy time. I was kind of lonely, and then I just discovered self-development, and everything changed then for me in a big way.
Yeah. And I think when I first started following you, I think on social media, you were in like a big van all the time. Were you traveling like up and down the country?
I was always doing social media, and I was in a big band, and I loved it. Like, I would say, when I look back, I wouldn't like to be in a band again like that, because I feel like that's in the past for me. But I did enjoy it. I loved that time. I look back at it very fondly. It was great crack. It was for the younger me, if you get me. Yeah. So look, I don't regret anything. All the things that you do, they're character building. It's all part of my journey, But yeah, I did need a big turnaround though, because I knew that's not where I wanted to stay. I didn't want to be in a van at 40, traveling around the country, gigging. So not that there's anything wrong with that. You can be in a van at 60, and if you're happy doing that, great. But I just knew I wanted different,
Yeah. And that kind of what drove you, because I find with a lot of people, like you'd hear a lot of people's stories that, are kind of at rock bottom and then they have this drastic change. I feel like even for myself, a lot of us
We're
were
not at rock bottom.
life. Yeah, life isn't really that bad. You know, it's like it's
A
okay.
lot of people, you hear the stories, and it has to be rock bottom. I was lonely, and I wasn't like I had a job, I had money coming in, but only enough to just pay my way every week, and I'd have nothing left at the bank at the end of the week. There was no hope of saving to buy a home or anything like that. I felt like the only way I'd have a home is if I met a partner, and then I wanted to get out. So the self development as well was like probably a drive to, well, if you need, I wanted a house, and I wanted, like, go get it yourself. And then
Yeah,
great if you meet someone along the way. And what happened was, of course, I did all the work. I worked for myself. And who did I meet? A successful businessman that works out that, but we're alike now. It's not like he's above me or below me. We're the
yeah,
same vibe. So now we have, we live together in a beautiful house, and it's just what kind of happens along the way. I didn't have to end up going to buy the house on my own, but I got myself in that position. And I think,
yeah,
yeah, just work on yourself. The rest, it'll become easier.
yeah. And I suppose my next question would be like, what kind of drove you to change? Because I call this that what we talk about is like the danger zone. What we talked about there, it's like you're not, as you say, Irish people say, it's like I'm grand, but there's
Yeah.
more. But it's like I'm grand, so sometimes there's not enough pain to like make you to change, and then nearly you don't have enough drive. You're like, I want to do that, but I'll do it next week.
Yeah,
Or it's
I
like,
know. I'm trying to think, like, as you said, there was no major rock bottom, but I was very lonely, Matt. I will be honest.
mm,
And I think the loneliness wasn't for a partner. I think I realized that it was because I just didn't have I felt like I was running at 45% of what I could be. I knew there was more in me. And then waiting for someone or something to come along and save you, I was like, no, you have to get yourself up to 80, 90. I'd say I'm running at 80, 90% now of what I can achieve and what I can do. And there's more to be had, but I think you should be sitting, yourself, ask yourself, where am I sitting? What am I capable of? And am I up there? I just knew I wasn't running. I knew I was capable of more. And I was like, right, well, you have to do the work now if you're gonna do it. You have to believe in yourself. And I think that was it. And a friend of mine, so I sat down one night and I just literally wrote out my life. So I think it was 2020. And I wrote my life in the future tense, 4.5 years or 5 years in the future tense. So I wrote out, I still have it. And the time came. So it was the 23rd of December, 2025. I am 40 years old, but I wrote this when I was about 36. And I wrote it like it was happening. So I woke up this morning, and it was so weird because I woke up this morning with a beautiful view of the water beside my partner. We got up early, and all of this, and I have my own businesses, but they're running. I have my own business, but they're running themselves, so I don't have to be there all the time. Now, at this time, I was in a band, no idea of any business that I wanted to have. I had no partner, no house. Well, I lived in a little apartment. But on the 23rd of December this year, whether I think some of it is that magic woo woo, and some people won't want to hear it, and that's absolutely grand. But I just went all in with it. I woke
yeah,
up here that morning on the 23rd of December beside my partner, and the view of the water, like he's living right on the water up here in Donegal. I made the mistake. You have to be exact. Right where? I'm 4 hours from home here, looking at a lovely view of the water, right beside a lovely man. But it takes me 4.5 hours to get home. That's the only thing. Be specific. But yeah, all of these things happen. I have two businesses now in Tipperary running. I have 12 staff. I have a manager down there. I just tip up and down. I say every second week, I go every week. So today I wasn't going to go. And I'm like, I have a meeting tomorrow. Do you know what? Patrick has a business in Dublin anyway, so I'd be bored up here. So I'm still on the road. I just don't have the big van, but I'm up and down. I'm
yeah,
still up and down like a yo-yo. Yeah, all of the things that I wrote down, the businesses, I wanted to be fit and healthy and working out. All of those things actually did happen. I had to take the steps, obviously. 5 years is a
yeah,
long time. If you're taking small steps every day, funny enough, it happened. Probably not the way I thought, because I was like nearly, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this on my own, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to, but when I read it out, exactly what I said is exactly my life now, which is so strange. And I didn't go onto Tinder looking for a guy with a house with a view of the water or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just the way it happened. But yeah, it all did happen. And I cannot argue with that. It worked. Like I did the work. I did my gratitude lists every day. I did my self-development. I got up, I joined the gym. I did the things. I started
Mm.
the businesses. I took the risks. And all of it did work out. And I've had loads of downs. The one thing with self-development is it's not the answer or the law of attraction or gratitude. It will help you and you can move on and you can get to wherever you want to go. But you will still have down days. You will still have days. Staff have left me, opened their own places. I've had bad years. I've had all of the things that anyone that's not doing self-development have. But I just have self-development as well to help me along the way, if you get me. So you still have the bad days. You still have bad days, Matt, I'm sure. I'm not perfect. I don't have a perfect life and everything's great. I'm not trying to make that out to be. Myself and Patrick aren't perfect all the time or the perfect relationship, nothing like that. But I did manifest everything that I said it would, and it has happened.
Yeah. It's actually crazy to even you saying that. It's like when you talk about it, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, when you
it
zoom
really,
out, it's weird. I was kind of like, honestly, when I started, I was like, right, I'm going to do this like, for the crack. Like, I'm going to go all in here, do the steps. They're saying it works. And sometimes I look around and I'm like, this is so weird that
yeah,
it all did. And I
yeah,
always say when I'm doing it, or better. So better will
mm,
come from it if you're open to better. But you do have to do the work. The action is the thing. And whether you believe in the woo-woo stuff in between, the more spiritual stuff, which I do because I've
yeah,
seen it and it's strange. If you don't believe in that, that's absolutely fine. But basically, writing your goals and taking action will probably get you there anyway. The other
yeah.
stuff will help, but the action is where the key is, really.
And that's good you said that because I was going to say, like, back in 2020 when you did that, there's a lot of people that probably thought about opening a business, thought about starting a podcast, thought about making a change, whatever it is, but they're probably here right now, like, not in the same position that
Yeah,
they were.
you have to
So I
do it.
suppose,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the action that is
It's
the
the action.
key.
And look, just to be 100% honest, action doesn't always work. As in, you can do
Mm,
something and you can fail. I had another business within that 5 years that I put money into that failed. So you're going to have failures. It's, I suppose, weighing up the risk. Can I afford this failure if it does fail? So I think what I would say is if you're going to take a risk and jump into something, weigh up, I suppose, what is the worst that can happen. Can I handle that if it happens? And if the worst that could happen, like at the moment, I was over, say, Patrick, my partner, his daughter, she has her own little nail business, but just in the garden here, she has a little place she does it, and she wants to open a place in the town. And I was like, right, that's grand. So you have to look at it now and think. So you open a place in the town, you put money into that. So what's the worst that can happen here, Eddie? You end up back here doing nails that you're already happy enough.
yeah.
Okay, you might have lost whatever she was, maybe 10 grand, or and that's a lot
Mm,
to some people. They can't afford that. That is going to, they have a mortgage. She doesn't have any of that. So the chances are it will work for her. She already has clients. She knows everybody around here. So you weigh it all up and decide, I suppose, if it's worth the risk to you, because everyone's risk is kind of different. If she had young kids and mortgages and stuff, then no, that wouldn't probably be the best thing for her in case that she lost all her savings or whatever. But for someone like her, it's worth the risk. She probably won't fail because you look around, it's been done before and it
yeah.
works. So I suppose it's weighed it all up too. Can I
I think
afford this risk? Because it is a
I
risk.
think it's a great point because I know some people that are skeptical about kind of this kind of stuff because again, you could sound like, oh yeah, I just write down what I want and then it just appears, and it's like, no, there is, because even that's what I was going to ask you is like, and I suppose you nearly answered it with like, how were you able to push past that fear of taking the chance to start it, or even the fear of, for a lot of people, it's like being judged or failing, and you just said you failed,
I did.
and
Yeah.
you also took took risks, but again, it's actually thought out. It's not like I'm
Yeah,
just,
I wouldn't be risking your whole house on something or risking. Well, it
yeah.
depends. Everyone knows, and it's what your expertise is. So, Matt, I worked in it. So, I have two hair salons now in Tip, and I worked in hair salons
Mm,
when I left school. So,
yeah,
I knew the go of them. I know, like, I'm not in their hairdressing. That was never the plan. But if I had to, I would go in and do bits and bobs. I know how a hair salon runs. I worked in one. I feel my aunt had one. Like it's something I know a lot about. We had pubs. My grandparents had pubs. My parents had pubs. I could run a pub, no problem. No
yeah,
problem. I could. But you might have zero connection with a pub or a hair salon, and your thing might be completely different. Someone else might say, "Well, I know all about garages because my dad ran a garage, or I worked in a garage." So it's like everyone is different, and your level of expertise in something, you might know something I don't know. I'm not going to open a cafe because I've never worked in a cafe and I don't know the run of things and I don't know how it works there. You know what I mean? So everyone is different. So I did know about that. I had
yeah,
insight into it a little bit. I had to learn loads since I did open, but definitely it's good to have some sort of knowledge about it. Don't just jump into something random, unless you think
yeah,
it's worth the risk or whatever. But yeah, you kind of have to have some sort of expertise in the thing that you're going for.
yeah. And it gives you that little bit more confidence as well,
Yeah.
having that experience. And, it's, yeah, you're not just going blind. You're not just like picking a thing out of a hat and go, right, that's my new business today. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
that's one thing. You actually said this on your story last night about the biggest regret with social media. Something I think a lot of people, definitely me as well,
I
I
still
probably
do
still
it.
struggle with
Yeah,
is be the fear of like being judged or putting yourself out there. I think social media is bigger nearly than even starting a business. Sometimes it's like nearly scarier to put yourself out on social media than it is to start a business.
yeah.
Yeah, how do you like? How did you manage that? Because even for
Yeah,
me,
I
outside
was doing
looking
a
in,
talk. I was doing a talk in a school transition year. Sometimes I'm brought in to do these talks. Like basically, just getting them to make a little plan. And the thing is, it's all attitude and how they look. So they're sick of their teachers telling them. So they bring me in to make them, to talk to them. And basically, those kids decide themselves what they want to do. It's not me telling them or the teachers. They're imagining their perfect life in the future. They're writing it down. They're deciding I want to be in college or whatever it is. So it's brought in anyway. But most of them, they're not interested in that. They're interested in because I have a good few followers on TikTok, right? And I forget I even have TikTok, and then I'll just fire up a video. It's always the way what you do. If I had decided day one I'm going to be big on TikTok, I'd be still struggling with 2,000
yeah,
followers. But I don't give a shit about TikTok. It's the only thing when I meet people anywhere in this country. You're your one from TikTok. I'm like, that's so funny because like that's not my thing at all.
yeah,
I will just do a random video. I might be talking about the 90s or anything.
yeah,
What was it? And I'll throw it up. Yesterday I put up a video about Patrick is a contractor, so every time we go somewhere, he might be like, "Oh, we go for a nice lunch." To the other day, he said, "We're going to Ardra. There's this lovely place I want to bring you," and I'm like, "Oh, great, yeah, yeah." But sure, he's a contractor, so on the way he's pricing a job. But he doesn't say that.
just
But then he's like, "Here, I'm just pulling in here," and like you gotta love the hustle. He's his own business
yeah,
too. He has to do these things. So I just did a little video in the Jeep. I was like, "I'm sitting here. He's pricing a job. There's always a catch." Like, but so many people can relate to that because there's men
mm,
that do it and also women that are used to sitting in the Jeep waiting for him to price the job. But that, I
yeah,
think there's 100,000 views on it. Like random shit like that. If I was trying to, talk about self development, they probably wouldn't listen to me at
yeah,
all. But anyway, it's just typical. But yeah, so these kids anyway just wanted to know about social media. And basically, what if I could go back, if I'd start again and still like, even at that, I think the biggest thing is you don't own it because you're afraid. You should nearly be like, if you are thinking of starting a business or you are like, if you have a business now of any sort, even if it's service industry on the ground in the street or whatever, you have to have a social media presence.
apologies. We had a halftime interval there. So
We're back.
we're going to get back into it, Anna. You were talking about your kind of biggest regret with social media and that you were doing a talk with transition years.
Yes. So funnily, I was doing a talk with transition year students a few weeks ago. And it's so funny because the teachers bring me in to kind of help them instead of them looking at the teachers being like, oh, they're so annoying, they're forcing us to do this, we try to change their attitude. It's like they make a little plan for themselves and then they want to do it rather than their teachers telling them. So it's just trying to switch their attitude a little bit to being like grateful for having education, all that, and grateful for the teachers. But really, they're not really interested in that. The students are more interested in the social media. That's a big thing. A lot of this is what I notice with that age group. They want to be influencers or they want to be social media. They want to work in social media. So they always ask, like, how do you get followers? How do you get bigger? And how do you make money on social media? And one girl asked me, what is your biggest regret on social media? And I thought it was a really, really good question. And even like not just social media, in general, business or anything like that. And like nowadays, you do have to have, if you have any sort of a business, you do have to have, you know, a personal brand online. Like if you don't, great if you can get away with it, but like unless maybe even if you have a fucking petrol station, I think you need to have nearly a personal brand online. It's like it really helps because you'd be like, oh, we'll pop in there. I know your man from social media. We're just so in that kind of thing now. But yeah, she asked me if she was to start social media, if she was to do, what advice kind of would I give her at the start? And my advice, so if there is here anyone here listening that wants to start a business or that wants to start, even if they want social media to be their business, I would, and what I did say to her, own it and like don't, so like almost I feel like I was waiting for a certain number to own it, to be, and you probably see that as well or feel that as well. You nearly feel imposter syndrome. So say if you've only 200 followers, you think, oh well, I can't act like an influencer, I can't act like, you know, talk about having a business or whatever, talk about my business, that's cringe. It's not. Act like you've got 1 million followers to start with, you know, act like you've just own the shit out of it. That's what I didn't do. It took me so long. And even now I struggle sometimes to own it, you know, because there's always going to be bigger than you. There's going to be people with more following than you. There's going to be more successful people. So you nearly feel like, oh, who am I to be coming on? But just own it. And own with anything in life. Act like it, walk like it, talk like it. You'll eventually become it anyway. And just get out your own way and do it. And that's what I said to her. If you want to do it. But don't wait until you have a certain number or wait until that day will never come. You'll never, everyone has imposter syndrome. You probably go to the biggest influencers in the country and they would have imposter syndrome when it comes to that. But yeah, that would be the advice that I would give her. And another piece of advice I would have given her is your friends and family. And I was like, I'm not throwing shade on my family, but I am. When you do these things, and Matt, you must know this because I really looked up to you. You were walking around the streets, Nina, talking on your phone, you know, when you were only building your business and getting clients. And I am sure, without even having to ask, that you got slagged by your friends and family. Lovely people. They'll be there for you when the chips are down, but they will slag the shit out of you when you're trying to do something outside the box. Won't they, though?
A
You
hundred
know?
percent.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that has done anything out of the box, is like left of center, that doesn't get a slagging from their friends and family, and you just have to let that over your head. And no, you'd probably slag them as well. That's just how it is. We're Irish. We
Yeah.
don't like to be like, you know, if we go outside our box at all, people don't like it. But that's where success lies, outside the box. So it's an awkward one. But yeah, if anyone listening is thinking of starting a business or using social media, that's the thing. Be prepared and don't take it personal when friends and family slag you. Own the hell out of it. You're doing it for a bigger picture. You're not doing it for your friends and family. They're not the people, like, not being smart. I don't want my friends and family coming into my business
Yeah.
using. I want strangers coming in that are
Yeah.
happy to pay, like friends and family. And I'm sure there's business owners listening. I don't know one business owner that wants friends and family because you're like, oh, like even my brother, he is a pub in Lanzarote. He's like, we'll come in, my sister will come in with all the kids, they'll take over all the tables, they're buying
Yes.
feck off. You know, someone else wouldn't do that. You just, friends and family, business and friends and family need to be totally separate. And I think you're better off with strangers. You're better off because, you know, you'll never keep them happy and you'll always have to give them a discount. And even when you do, you're still in trouble. So yeah, that was my advice to her anyway. Think bigger
Yeah.
and just own it. Yeah.
And it's funny because you said like you still kind of struggle with it. And I would, and this is where it's like always the outside looking in. I think all of us are like, you maybe do that too, where, you know, you look at others, you're like, they're perfect. How are they so good? Or they
Yeah.
just own it. Like I would
Yeah.
think that you own it or you don't struggle with that. I would have thought that
No,
would
I
be one of
do.
your strengths, but maybe that's just me looking
Chill.
in.
Oh, no, like I do sometimes I'll have to pick up my phone. And if I haven't done it in a few days, I'll be like, "Not-" it's hard. I can't do anything if there's people around. I
Yeah.
cannot pick up my phone. I cannot, like, even walking down the road there, if I pick up my phone to chat, out for a walk on social media and a car is coming, I nearly
Yes.
put the phone away. I think I used to be cockier years ago. I find
Yes.
it hard. And it's a different thing, social media, like you want some neck to do it. It takes a lot of neck and you have to be brave. Like I was up on stages and always in the entertainment, but I find the social media as hard, if not harder. And I did even like say when I moved up here to Donegal and Patrick's family, they wouldn't be into social media at all. They wouldn't know
Mm.
anything about it. They probably struggled a little bit with it. It's just so it's almost like Jesus, she's showing off. I'm not
Yeah.
showing off. It's what runs my businesses, but it's such a new industry that it's a hard. It's like we're the first to almost do it. There might have been a few
Yeah.
before us or whatever, but this might be going on still in 200 years' time. Like the first restaurant opened or the first.
Mm.
There's always a first, and it's a hard industry to be in as well because and I'm not a full social media influencer. That's not where my income really comes from. But it's it is and it isn't because if I don't have social media, then people don't book into my salons. If I don't have listeners in my podcast, like it all
Yeah.
goes hand in hand. It's not like you do this post, you make this money. That's not how it really works. It's all about the bigger picture over the years, really, isn't it? It's more, and that's even I found that hard to get my head around. It's like it's not about the one thing you do. It's not about this one event that we do. It's not about that. It's about, and that's like anything in life. It's chip, 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 chipping away all the time. It's not, there's no such thing as a big break. I don't know anyone that's had a big break. What do they say? Big break takes 10 years,
Yeah.
just like have to keep chipping away. So
Yeah.
it's all about the bigger picture. So yeah, social media and people that do, and I have to commend them that work full time in it, like actually being influencers, they get a really hard time. If you're a
Yeah.
successful influencer, you are probably up on, I won't even name the website, people trying to actually tear you down. There's an awful lot of jealousy in it. There's very few industries like that. If you opened a restaurant, you wouldn't have people writing a forum about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yet people want them, want the influencers. I follow them, you follow them,
Yeah.
So it's a very hard and funny old industry. Where kind of I'm in it slightly, but not fully because I have my business on the ground as well. I
Yeah.
think probably keeping my toes in a few different things, but yeah, it definitely is. And if you are listening, and if you're someone that does give out about influencers or whatever, like go easy on them because I do think they get it very tough. It's
Mm.
not they're doing something that's hard to do to start with. You know it,
Yeah.
and I know it. And then on top of that, they're being bullied and they're getting
Yeah.
torn down. And look, you probably haven't made it until you're getting torn down, but it's a hard one.
Yeah. And because I remember having a conversation with Natalie Lennon a few years ago. And
Mhm.
at the time, she had about 50, 60,000 followers. So she had gotten big. And I was saying to her, I was like, when I first started social media, there was a time where I was kind of like chasing that followers and like, I wanted all this thing. And then I said to her, I was like, I'm actually glad it didn't happen because I wasn't mentally able at that point for,
Right.
I don't even know if I am now, for all that like ridicule and people, trying to tear me down. Like that would have killed
Yeah.
me at that time.
Yeah.
Literally, I probably would have just went off social media and be like, no, that's not me. So I was
And
glad
it just,
looking back that it didn't happen then, Whereas now I'd have a
yeah.
bit more resilience, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still something, one of the big, like you said, with owning it, I think the one thing that I stops me still, I'm getting better, but I was definitely afraid to be disliked, which
Yeah. And
is kind of,
unfortunately, if you're putting yourself out there, you will be disliked. And I think that that's something, and I find that hard to get my head around. Like when I put up videos, and I was saying earlier, like TikTok is huge for me for some random reason. I'll throw up a video. Last night threw up a video, and a lot of them go very viral. So throw up a random video, but I know the minute it goes past a certain amount, people think that you don't exist. So once you go over about 20,000 views, I am checking the comments like crazy. And sometimes you look at a lot of my videos, I've turned off the comments. So even
Yeah.
though it could be a really positive video, nothing negative in the video, but once it goes over a certain number, you will have the few that are that could say anything. TikTok is like the wild west of they could say anything, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, delete. Sorry,
Yeah.
I shouldn't curse on your part. But you're like,
You're
delete,
good.
delete. You know, you're just and then turn off the comments. And it's just literally it's going to happen.
Mm.
But again, no one can fully handle it. It's a very tough one. I think, yeah, once you're over a certain number, people will, and it's something to be aware of. I think I'd rather not get too big on it,
Mm.
but be more kind of what did they say? Like instead of numbers, just more quality. I want to
Yeah.
work with the people that follow me already that are
Yeah.
in that because that's safer, nearly, you know? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure the likes of Mel Robbins gets torn down so much, but she doesn't give a shit because she's laughing all the
Yeah.
way to the bank. You are
Yeah.
not going to you're not going to get to that level or anything near it without people having haters. It's just part of the package and it's accepting whether or not you want that or not, you know,
Yeah.
because if you stay in your box, you won't get it. Well, yeah, you'll get people bitching anyway in
Yeah.
normal life. It won't be as obvious or as bad, you know. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. You're probably glad now in a way. You have your big business, you are successful, but you don't have the fame, and the fame comes with you're well
Mm.
known. And I wouldn't say I have the fame either, because I'm keeping under that bit of a radar and it's a safe place, but maybe that's not where we should be. Maybe we should push ourselves and feck them. That's
Yeah.
that's what you just gotta take it. But it's just like, yeah, I find it tough too. And we're tough cookies. So must be very hard for people if they've low self esteem and they blow up on social media, you know, or if they've
Yeah.
low, if they it must be. And I know there is people suffer very bad when there's things written about them. And Jesus, it's a tough one.
That's what I was going to say, actually, is why I suppose in another way mindset work and being confident in yourself is really super important as well. Because
Yeah,
for that, again, if you're going to put yourself out there in anything, it doesn't have to be social media or business. It's like in
yeah,
life, you're probably going to have to put yourself out there to do whatever it is. Even in your business, like in a job, you could have to do
yeah,
talks, promotions, different things.
yeah.
You're always going to have to. And it's like, it's all at a price, but you may as well. Someone was saying it before. It's like,
You might as well do it.
people are gonna dislike you either way. You may as well be yourself. You know,
Yeah,
it'd be worse if
exactly.
if you were trying to be somebody else and then they disliked you. So it's even twice
Yeah,
as
you
bad.
can't fucking win. You can't win. No, you're never going to please everyone. That's what I've learned. You're never going to
Mm.
please everybody, and you just need to just do your own thing. Once you're not harming anyone, once you're not the one writing the stuff down, just be happy
Yeah,
you're not that person tearing somebody else down, because
exactly.
it's part and parcel of what we do and our industry. And I want to be here. I enjoy it. It's a pity, but it just goes. I did a media course last year, and your man Paul is his name, can't even think of his second name. He was running it. He's the guy that does World's Toughest Prisons. He's the presenter of that,
Well, yes.
but he has a few other shows, and he was saying, first things first, you know your Ackles heel, like what they're going to drag you down for. You know what I mean? We all know it. And they'll always find the thing that you're like, do you know what I mean? So his thing is he's small.
Own it.
So he
Yeah,
will almost come on and say, I know I'm a short arse, blah, blah, blah. So he will take the power away. So
yeah,
instead of getting he will, if you give people what they're going to tear you down with, sometimes that's a good tip. Own it and just be like, so if you've done something or you're afraid something's going to come up, you bring it up rather than being afraid of it coming up. I thought that was a good tip.
yeah. That works. And I think even I had that from growing up. It was like Irish people. Your friends are always going to slag you. So it's like you may as well slag yourself about it first to get them.
Yeah, you take the power away.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
the next thing I wanted to ask you is obviously with mindset, law of attraction, how did you first get into it? Like, was it a book? Was it a course? What did you
Yeah,
kind of do?
so I was lying in bed watching YouTube late at night, probably after a gig or whatever, and I started watching a few kind of YouTube things on it. And then I came across Jerry Hussey and I read his book, and it opened my eyes. I watched The Secret, the movie. Like, it was pretty straightforward. Like anyone else, just started realizing that these things, and yeah, Esther Hicks, watching her on YouTube, different things like that. And that's how I got into it, just kind of fell into it, I suppose, started reading these books and started just doing the work and doing the gratitude list and like the practical things, because that's what a lot of people, we just kind of talk about it. And yeah, it's something people are like, but what do you actually do on a daily basis? I think people want to know that on a daily basis. Like, I'm not perfect. I could go a week without doing any of it, but I know then I've fallen off the wagon. I'm in a great place now at the moment, and I know when I am in that great place of doing all my self development, I'll come on a lot. Like, I could push myself on what would take a year in 2 weeks of head down, up early in the morning, exercise, gratitude list. I would write a gratitude list every single day. That's a non-negotiable to me. It kind of like it just rewires my brain nearly, because I actually would wake up in bad form most days. I'd say most people do. You just kind of have a bit of a cloud over you. First things first, get out in the air if you can. That would be the key to me. Writing a gratitude list. And another little life hack that it just works. I don't know why, or don't know how. Again, a bit of woo-woo stuff going on, but I have I have it here actually, a gratitude journal. And it's basically, you write your gratitude, and you can do this, you don't need a special journal. I just happened to come across this one. But I write my gratitude in the present tense. So what I'm grateful for. And then on the other side, I will write what I'm grateful for that hasn't happened yet that I want to happen. So it's like delusional. You're pretending.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for a really successful event, sold out, everyone was happy, we really enjoyed it. Anytime I do that, it fucking works. I don't know how. And I know, well, I should know how. I don't. No one really
Yeah.
knows how these things work. But maybe it's just getting your mind in that space that you're going to drive it more, and you're feeling the feelings, you're visualizing it, and
Yeah.
that does work. So yeah, I find that even if you do nothing and just do your gratitude list every day, it's a great thing to do. But I've kind of upped my gratitude list now by doing 10 that I'm actually grateful for now, and then 10 in the future. And I find that that's a really good thing to do. Everything else, then, the gratitude is kind of a non-negotiable every day. Other than that, I do my journaling, but I wouldn't do it probably every day. So not everyone's going to click with everything. Meditation is something I just can't fully get my head around, and I know it's brilliant, and I know it's coming for me, but I'm not there yet. Do you know that? I've tried it, fallen off the wagon. Obviously, exercise, you know yourself, makes such a difference. Just writing down your goals. Like, what's the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire? They say a millionaire writes his goals down once a day. A billionaire writes them down 10 times a day. The more you write down your goals is just, and even I'll write a goals list every single day, as in, I suppose it's just a list of things to do. But I always think, well, is this my bigger picture? It might be even like, so I want to do a coaching course now. That's something. So you could just say that. That's no good. You have to write that down as your goal. But then I also today have on my list, I've loads to do today, and I also have to drive down to Dublin. So I'm, flat out. But at the same time, all I have to do for my future self today is spend 10 minutes Googling courses. That's it. Just Google, and I don't beat myself up if that's all I do today on that. And probably what I'll end up is going down a rabbit hole and spend a half an hour doing it. But that is part of the work. Sometimes we think that that's a waste of time. No, if you've you're putting in the time to look up these courses, you have to do your research. So spend 10 minutes. Even starting the podcast, doing it. I was researching, that was on my list. Well, today just look into what microphones, you need to, what websites people use, only 5 or 10 minutes a day. After a long, long time, now I have a very successful podcast. I'm able to record it myself, edit it myself. At the start, I was paying for studio, so it's only small bits. Like today might be 5 minutes looking up the course, but then eventually zoom out a month and I'll have probably signed up for a course. I'll have some of it done. You know what I mean? So it all bit by bit by bit. It doesn't have to be huge things every day, but do something towards the bigger picture every day, if you can.
Yeah. I like that as well, because it's just something, and it doesn't
Just
have
something.
to be, and it's kind of like, where you want to go, the direction, as long as you move in the direction, you don't have to get
You
the
just have
exact
to be very
perfect
far.
route.
Some
But
days it'll be really far. Some
yeah,
days you'll get that call and I will do the event, and that'll pull me on another bit, a lot more than maybe today just Googling a course. There's not going to be the same pull every day towards your future life. And you'll never get there either. There is no future life, because now I'm where I wanted to be 5 years ago. But of course, I have a whole new set of goals and a whole new set of plans, and it doesn't solve all life's problems. You still have the normal day-to-day stuff, but it just keeps you going, isn't that it?
yeah. And what do you feel like people get wrong about kind of gratitude, law of attraction, self development? I don't even know what to call it. So many people call it different
Yeah.
names. About this
Like,
stuff.
I'm kind of funny. It depends on who I'm talking to. Like if I'm in a school, I don't say the law of attraction at all. I just say self
Yeah.
development. You know what I will say is I'm more in the spiritual side of things. I think
Mm,
it's real and I enjoy it. But a lot of people are like they cut it off because it's woo woo. It's but actually don't. Try the stuff without the woo woo stuff. Do the goals list. Take the action. That's not woo woo. And it'll still probably work for you. And as well, like this toxic positivity kind of thing. I'm not toxically positive. Jesus, ask my partner or my son or whatever. They're like, no, it's not that positive all the time. But I'm just doing things to try and switch myself a little bit. And a lot of
mm,
these things are scientifically proven. Like a gratitude list is scientifically proven, to help you and it does actually change things within your brain if you do it for long enough.
yeah.
So, like, I would just say, if you're just cutting it off because it's woo woo, you're being silly. Maybe I'm not the woman to be listening to,
Yes.
but I can guarantee you, like, I'm going to have you on my podcast and I'm going to grill you about this because I don't
Yeah.
know if you're into the law of attraction or but you're definitely into self development and you are
Yeah.
in a similar place to where I am. So it'll work whether you're into the woo woo side of it or not. And if you don't believe in it, that's fine, but do believe in the actual practical steps because they do work. So that's where people, if you cut it off completely and you're just like, that's bullshit, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot, really.
Yeah. And it's funny because you're like the spiritual side. I am actually more logical with it. And
Okay.
I like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical. I don't know. Is it an Irish
But I just
thing,
think you
man
do
thing?
it and you don't know you do it.
See, and then it's like when I say I'm very kind of science based anyway, even with nutrition training. So it's like I like to know why. It's like, okay, why does that work? But they're actually, like you said, it actually is when
There
you
is
break it
certain
down.
studies done. Yeah.
Yeah, it does work, and there's a process behind it. There is obviously the element of the spiritual side, but
Yeah. Like
it's
I've just
real.
seen that myself. But I don't really feel I have to prove that to anyone because the funny thing is, if you start doing it, you can't prove those things. Spirituality is more, I've seen it, it's a sign or it's something that's happened that
Mm,
I know. It's just there's something else going on, but like I can't really explain that to somebody. It might just be a coincidence as well. And
yeah,
also, whatever, if I was doing the woo woo stuff and I wasn't doing the practical stuff, it wouldn't really work anyway. So do the practical stuff. You're doing it, but you're probably just not into the more spiritual, or you're not seeing it the way I see that as a sign, or we're just
yeah,
slightly different in that way, but that's still okay. It's whatever you lean towards. Like I'm reading a book there at the moment. I was holding up my Paul McKenna, and he didn't mention and it's all about manifestation. He didn't mention gratitude at all. So some people don't use the gratitude side of it as much as I do. I just find that a really good place for me and it just puts me in better form, changes my attitude. And honestly, your attitude will dictate your whole life. If you have a good attitude towards people, most of the time they will have a good attitude. If you enter a room with a high vibe, a good attitude, you'll usually get it back. Whereas if you have a negative or if you're in a job that you don't like and I hate my boss and I hate I can guarantee you're not going to get that promotion that you're giving out about because you can feel it when someone's
yeah,
energy is down or up. Like if I came on today in real bad form, you'd feel that, Matt. So
yeah,
I don't know how to explain that, but that is a thing and you know it and I know it.
yeah,
So whether it works or not, by raising your own vibration, by raising your attitude to a more positive place, if you don't want to call it a vibration, by literally putting yourself in better form, by thinking about what you're grateful for, you are then probably attracting more good. Your business will grow, your relationships will grow, good will come from that. So whether that's spiritual or not, I don't know. But
yeah.
your attitude does affect your whole life.
And I was at a kind of event in Dubai last week or the week before, and a guy, JP De Villers, I think that's his name, was on, and he was saying like he's 20 years, and he was like, if you could take one thing from everything I'm going to tell you, is like just to be grateful, just have express gratitude. And he was like, it's like you said, it's
It's,
usually it will change your life, change the way you view life, how you
yeah,
express it, and it's like when things happen to you, then again, if when you can be grateful and have that approach, the negative you can turn it into a positive. So it's
yeah.
like you
Of
said,
course, like
you fail the business instead of being like, oh, I'm a loser. shit. You're like, that's going to
Genuinely.
lead you to the next one.
Yes. And I look at it, right? Because I had the business with somebody else and we are still really good friends. And the one thing I was told, don't get into business with someone, you'll fall out, blah, blah, blah. Actually, if nothing came out of this, that person, I can ring them any day of the week. We've been through stuff together. So it's like I have a relationship that, you know, I'm so grateful for that relationship. So do you know what? That was worth it. And, it wasn't something that I lost a lot from or that I weighed up the risk and it was worth it at the time. So I do look at that with gratitude and I know that that was a learning curve for me, but also I got a really good friend out of it. So, that's all positive.
And
Hmm.
that is the gratitude attitude. That's the name of it.
Exactly.
It's
So
good.
grateful. All good. All
So
good.
I just want to thank you for coming on, and I could actually probably stay talking and ask you questions for the next 2 hours, but
Oh,
I
good.
won't. I'll leave it at that. And I think
Lovely.
there's so much positivity to take from that, and even for yourself, like to
But
see
even
your
from
journey.
this chat, I feel like I'm in better form from chatting to someone else. It's always about putting yourself in a room with other people with similar attitudes as well. It's just like, I feel like I'm in a better place after this chat. So it's all good.
Yeah. And guys, thank you everyone for listening. And again, if you do find value from our ramblings today, do let us know. Drop us a message on social media, tag us. And what do you want to drop your handling
Yeah.
if anyone
So
wants to follow you?
if you want to listen to my podcast, it's the Gratitude Attitude podcast. It's on all platforms. I'm in the top 30 again this week, which I'm delighted about. Also, it's Gratitude Attitude Anna on Instagram. Yeah, and TikTok. I don't even know what I am on TikTok, but I'm big on TikTok. I think it's just Anna O'Connor or something like that on TikTok. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Matt.
No hassle at all. That's so funny. I didn't even know about TikTok because
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
not a cool
most people
person.
recognize me from TikTok. They will come up to me like in a certain situation, but usually like if you're in a pub or whatever. I want people to recognize me from my podcast and my self-development. No, you'll have the odd person coming up saying, listen to the podcast. But it's usually like, love your TikToks. And they're all just a bit of crack. But anyway, sure, it's just something I enjoy. That's like a little hobby,
Yeah,
It's like we could all have hobbies. So I enjoy that. It's a bit of laugh. Yeah. So thanks, Matt, for having me.
no hassle at all. And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you in the next episode.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Future Fitness Lifestyle. If you found value in today's conversation, do me a favour, leave a review, share it with a friend, or tag me on social media. Every share and review allows us to reach more people and bring you even more great content. Stay tuned for weekly episodes packed with insights to help you optimize your health, fitness, and mindset. And if you're ready to take things to the next level and join the MC Future Fitness community, click the link in the description, fill in the application, and let's get started. Thanks for tuning in.